Alrighty, welcome back to the Hit the Gap podcast. Round one is done and dusted. How did you feel that one, Mitchie?
God, it's good to have football back, bro. Holy.
We said it last week, but it is
7 times.
It is great. It is great to have a full weekend of football. 8 games in a round. Beautiful. Now we just need to cram them all back into one weekend because it felt like a mid-season gap between that Vegas round and the rest of it, I reckon.
And I mean, yeah, we could probably get used to that as well, having those Vegas games. They were still pretty sick. Definitely didn't go the way anyone planned, and I think if you got any more than, say, maybe 5 tips in this round, I want to have a chat to you about how you tipped.
Flipping coins for sure.
Literally, I can't believe it. What an incredible round of football, put it that way. Definitely took, I feel like, everyone by surprise, right, with results-wise.
Yeah, there were a lot of games there, and I think there's probably a few people, I know I was anyway, fell victim to just changing tips at the last minute and it going the wrong way. Well, not the wrong way, but
twice, at least on 2 games.
Whoever changed their tips, yeah,
there's definitely 2 games I changed, which would have been the Manly and the Rabbits game, literally first game, in Vegas.
Yep,
that was one that I had on Manly and changed, literally in the last 2 minutes before it started.
Yeah,
and then the Storm game as well. I heard Munster was out and was like, oh no, I can't do it. I'm scared.
Yeah, that was the big one, I think, for me anyway, was the Penrith Melbourne game. They've got that streak, obviously, but as we know, all streaks come to the end, a la The Undertaker. But not Melbourne's, unfortunately, for my tips, not Melbourne's. And yours too, by the sounds.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, they've done it before. Munster's been out and they've pulled off a solid win, but that team as a whole in that game was just, the defensive effort was insane.
Incredible.
It really, I think it was really, and we've seen this at the Panthers a fair bit, the last couple of years, they start a bit slower or they're not as dominant as they are toward the end of the previous season, obviously. A
little bit of a Roosters strat that they normally employ, but where they're a bit slow started too. But mind you, we'll get to that.
Yeah. They like I was saying, they sort of the last couple of years have been a little bit funny coming back into the season. It takes them a little bit, and then their classic old Panthers just pumping everyone. But yeah, their defensive efforts takes nothing away from how good Melbourne were. Their defensive efforts were insane. They really had Penrith on tilt, I thought, for a lot of that game. It was insane just watching them try their usual stuff and nothing working. Like, they had everyone pulling their hair out. I know Luai was under pressure.
He was stressed.
Yeah, he was under pressure a fair bit there, and there were a few passes that sort of, I don't think, went to the man they were meant to. Like,
100%.
One ended up coming...
A little disjointed.
Yeah, one ended up coming out the back to Sonny Luke when I think it was meant to go to Cleary or something, and that play sort of died in the arse. But yeah, very good to Melbourne. You're right, though, the tipping, in regards to the tipping...
Just to touch on as well, real quick, their scramble defense was just some of the most immaculate I've seen.
Melbourne's?
Yeah. In a long time.
Yeah.
Long time.
Yeah, definitely. It was the defensive effort was insane. But yeah, just back on the tipping that you were talking about, it was a shambles. Everything was ridiculous. Anyone that got more than 5, and I know there is someone in our comp that got 5. Anyone that got more than 5, you've done well. Pat yourself on the back. But
I don't think anyone got more than 5 though, right?
Tell me your results. Next week, this round rather.
Show you're working. That's what we really want to know. Show you're working. How did you come up with?
Yeah, the Vegas games we touched a little bit on them last week, preview wise. Anyway, they again went well, probably a little bit different to how we thought they would. The Manly, I think the Manly Rabbitohs game was probably the best one of those 2 games. It was very end-to-end football. Like, one team would have all the possession or would be dominant for 10-15 minutes, and the other team would be scrambling, and then it would just switch. It was like an arm wrestle constantly the whole time. But
even though there was a definitive dominator in terms of who had the ball in the possession, it was still end-to-end. Like, that first 60 minutes was just like, literally, I was watching both teams between each 10 meter line.
Yeah.
Like, the whole game, pretty much. It was just incredible. It was awesome.
It did have a bit of origin about it, I think.
It really did,
personally.
Especially that first 20.
Yeah, the arm wrestle. Yeah, the amount of, cuts and blood we saw, but just the aggression and all of it. And then the other, I wouldn't say shock, but the surprising thing was Luke Brooks coming out and absolutely dominating. It did take him probably a good, I would say maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes to insert himself and be a bit more noticeable. But after that, he did quite well. I mean, he even got a try, come away with a try.
Well, it was funny, right? Like we were all sitting at the bar there, and we're like, oh. Man, he really hasn't done much. And then that last 10, that probably about 5-10 before the first half ended.
Yeah,
just came. He just started really running the ball, and we're like, oh, okay.
Had that disallowed try, or he got held up just, but that
yeah.
was a good effort from him. And then
Came out in the second half.
Ended up getting one himself. Yeah, toward the end there. Yeah,
blasted him.
Yep. And the Broncos Roosters was probably a bit of a shock. The Broncos, much like we were just talking about the Panthers, I think were relatively disjointed. In attack and defence, really. Roosters came out and they had, I mean, other than that Manu try was just a bit of a gimme. Unfortunate ball from Ezra there, but they just seemed a lot more ready. Like they had a lot more of a game plan, I guess. They stuck to it, whereas Broncos didn't seem to be able to get it going for more than 5 to 10 minutes at a time. It was just very disjointed for me.
And I mean, for me, watching that game, we're going into it, we were all like, man, there's no way that Broncos can possibly lose this game based off the forwards alone. The forward pack's going to dominate. Like, it's going to absolutely destroy the Roosters. They got no JWH or anything. Like, there's no way they win. And then the forward pack of the Broncos just nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, it was
nowhere to be seen.
In comparison to last year, anyway, it was very, very disjointed, or just wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't.
And their outsides and backs and stuff like that. There was nothing doing from anyone in the back line either. They were trying. You could see that they were trying, but they just couldn't get it together.
Walsh, I think he actually set a good try up there. He was trying, doing what he could, but just nothing was really coming off.
I mean, there was people that were definitely out of position for a lot of those plays as well that he was trying to do. Yeah. And you could tell that the frustration he was going through, because he'd be like looking back to go past it, and he'd be like,
no one would be there,
or he'd be throwing his hands up and whatnot. So
yeah, and it probably does sort of change the game plan up a little bit with Piakura going off in the opening minutes.
Literally.
And I think Carrigan actually pushed out to the edge and played the edge from there, which we saw him do last year, but as a last minute or an emergency swap in for the rest of the game, it probably
he did struggle there too.
Yeah, it probably threw a little bit of their game plan or what they had set up, or the ideas they had, how they were going to run it, threw it up into the air a little bit, I think, which, like we talked about, it just looked a bit disjointed. I don't think they'll have too much to worry about. I mean, coming back and playing this weekend in round 2, I think it'll be a completely different result or different game plan from them. But yeah,
they do have the bunnies though.
Yep. And
so it could be a bit interesting, but it is at Brisbane, so
yep.
A little more of a homey feel.
Yep. Well, who did we lose? They lost Piakura in that to a head knock. So injury-wise, coming out of Vegas, I think there's probably a couple casualties. Nothing. I don't think anything long-term, which is good. But other than, I should say Saab.
I was going to say Jason Saab's the most important, I'd say.
Yeah, Saab did a hammy. You could see. As soon as he took off, it just let go, and you could see he knew
straight away.
A bit of distress in the face, unfortunately for him. So that'll be maybe 6 weeks.
They've already confirmed 6. Yeah.
Yeah, generally about 6 weeks on the sideline. So unfortunate for Saab. There were a couple others. I know the Roosters specifically. Roosters had Satili Tupanua, I think, has done something to his groin. He's got a groin injury, and potentially Siua Wong. I'll just check, because they both sort of came off, I believe. Came off and didn't really come back on. Satili's groin,
massive.
And Wong might be right. I might be just talking a bit of rubbish there.
I mean, there is still Billy Smith, who actually we knew very, very late going into that game as well that he'd done his hamstring. So
yeah, he was a late exclusion rather, unfortunately for him. So, but the Tupanua, and maybe it must just be Wong might have come off or might have had a concern, I would say, thinking about it.
And I mean, obviously Lenu as well.
Yeah, yep. I mean, injury wise, I think that's about it. Lenyu's a special case with his suspension, but yeah, all in all, I think those two games were quite solid. It was a pretty successful venture, I think, into Vegas.
And I think they still got. I'm pretty sure they said that they still got 40,000. I think there.
Yeah.
At the game itself.
Yep.
And there was still a decent reach. It wasn't an amazing reach in terms of the TV because some sort of a trash network that they put it on or something like that. It wasn't like a main network or anything like that.
Yeah, that,
so they
and
didn't
I
get
guess
much reach.
You're probably not going to get as many people tuning into a
Not in
game.
your first
They
year,
don't. Yeah, they don't really know or understand. It's probably something more like a something to do. Go and check it out. Check it out live.
Which I feel like that people definitely did, and hopefully we got some more fans from that because honestly, both those games are. I'm satisfied with the games that we took over there.
Yeah, definitely.
I was concerned more about the Manly and the Bunnies one, which was the best friggin' game. It was probably the second best game of the whole round.
Yeah, I would argue the same. Yeah, exactly right. Yep. And then continuing the round, we had the Raiders and the Knights, which again was a little bit surprising. I mean, I thought personally I did tip the Knights. That was one. I had the Raiders, and then I thought, no, I've got to tip the Knights. There's too many players out for the Raiders, but. Again, talking about disjointed, the Knights looked very disjointed. Anytime a kick went up, I don't think anyone in that backline knew who was taking it.
Where's Phoenix? He's on the field, but where is he?
Yeah.
What happened to the Phoenix of last year?
Yeah, in comparison to last year, exactly. It's a little bit different. I mean, round one, we say it every year, round one, round two, even maybe round three, you can't put too much stock, but you got to hope by round three teams have got themselves sorted. Yeah, exactly. But it was just, it was very, very odd for the run they went on. I mean, obviously they didn't do great the start of last year. The Knights were sort of pretty rubbish, but midway through toward the end there, they just pulled it out and went on that run. So I think there was probably a little bit of an expectation there, similar to the Broncos, just to come back in firing. But yeah, just very, very disjointed. And Raiders playing like the Raiders, all they do is take their opportunities when they arise and then just defend. All they had to do was just turtle,
For what it's worth, I'm still impressed with Bradman Best as well. I think he actually had a crack that game.
Yep.
Granted, but one of the only people on the field who was actually having a crack.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I don't know. It just felt like there was a lot of bodies on that field that just,
weren't on the same page.
Not on the same page. Didn't want to be there. Who knows? I don't know. It's a home game, so you'd want to hope they were. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jeez.
Yeah, we'll chalk that up to just a bit of rust, preseason rust or round one rust. Yeah, that was one that was, like I said, maybe not so much a shock, but a little bit more of a surprise.
For what it's worth, I also tipped the Raiders.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, the Knights rather.
Yep. Warriors Sharks was another one. Pretty tough game. It considering how it started off, it didn't seem like the Sharks really had any right to win that game, but toward the end of that first half and then second half onwards, I'm not too sure what happened with the Warriors there. They almost...
I mean, that first 20 minutes was like, oh yeah, Warriors probably going to go into 30 points here, I reckon.
Yeah, it was all Warriors.
I was like...
The whole game was all Warriors, yeah, exactly right.
They're picking up right where they left off, and then you turn away for a second, and then... Holy moly.
Yeah.
Explode.
I know a lot of people like to blame the ref and officiating and whatnot. There was probably some average calls or missed calls or whatnot, but just the way it was turned around there, it just I don't know. It was it was the Warriors' game to lose, put it that way, and lose they did. The Sharks, hopefully, good signs moving forward. Anyway,
the wet-haired hunk gets another one.
Yep. Hot Boy Hines. Running shit. Yeah, the pairing between him and Trindle, I think, was very good. I don't think there were too many concerns.
I was questioning it at the start, but when they actually started to get a bit of momentum, they really made it work and it looked good.
Yeah, when he filled in for Moylan last year, Trindle, he did real well. So I don't think there were too many concerns in terms of new halves pairings, but yeah, it had been a little bit since he'd played first grade, I think. I know we saw him in the Indigenous All-Stars round. I believe he went pretty well, but first time running on, I mean, that's his position now. It's his position to lose, so hopefully they can keep that up, and they're only going to improve with time, obviously.
After they shake that rust off, should be right.
Yeah, exactly right. And then, this one was a surprise.
The Warriors as well.
Yep, same. Storm Panthers. Storm Panthers was probably the shock surprise of the round, as we briefly alluded to before. The Melbourne Storm's defense, you can't really praise them enough. It was insane. There were some individual efforts as well that were outstanding. Coates, I think,
man.
was all over everything.
Mind blowing.
Yeah.
That's the Xavier Coates we saw from like a couple of years back, where it was like, yeah, this guy's
in his prime, yeah.
Damn.
In form, exactly right.
Damn.
Like he was everywhere. He was shutting everything down. Everything he could be in, he was. And even if he wasn't, there making the tackle, he was ready to. So
literal Midas touch that game, bro.
Yeah, exactly right. He did. He had the Panthers figured out. He sort of had them fucked a little bit, I think.
Yeah, literally.
And you could see it was stressing him out. It
was visibly stressing. Like Luai is like literally every time he got up with the ball, he's going like.
Yeah, they had him shut down. Yeah,
it was kind of funny to watch.
Yeah,
but at the same time, it was also like, God damn, man, I tipped the Panthers.
Yeah. Panthers they have lost Crichton, which again, it's going to keep happening over the next couple of years. They're going to keep losing players, but
and they really, really struggled on that edge.
Yeah,
it was very noticeable that Critter was missing. So
potentially maybe a combination thing almost.
100%,
but
it has to be.
Yeah, like Taylor May, I think myself, I don't think he did too bad.
I thought he was probably one of their best attacking.
Exactly right. And he was on the wing
plays.
2 seasons ago, and he was great. We know how good he can be. Exactly right, but potentially, yeah, just a bit of a combination thing. Who knows?
Big too.
Yeah, he is. He's a big boy, quite tall. We can only see, like we said, it's pretty common for the Panthers the last couple seasons anyway. After winning premierships to start,
they dropped game one as well
slow,
last season.
They did what?
I'm pretty sure that round 1 they dropped that as well.
Yeah, against the Broncos they did. It was only a small margin they lost by. It wasn't.
Points.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was a tough game. It wasn't anything like this game was, but yeah, they did. I think there were a couple rounds they lost last year early on. So
just needed a little bit more faith in the boys. I think they really wanted to make sure that Bellier kept that record, and yeah, he kept it.
They did. Yeah, they did well. Like all things, you can't take anything away from the Storm. The Panthers weren't. They weren't atrocious. You're not gonna call them that. I mean, especially considering how well Melbourne did defend. But yeah, you've got to give it to Melbourne for pulling it together like they did. Young Jonah Pezzett too. He's filled in a couple times now for Munster when he's been out on Origin duty or injury or whatnot, and he continues to prove his worth, I think. So yeah, good job to him for sure.
Fantastic to see Pappenhausen back as well.
Yeah, yep, definitely.
And he also was on the pump too, man. Man put up some really good plays. He's definitely right back in it, right back to form. So it's awesome to see.
Yep.
And full credit to Billy Slater and his Mrs. Nicole as well. I know that they there was actually a big article about it recently where Pappenhausen actually went through it and explained how his entire recovery process was gone both times, and both times Billy has actually taken him in to their farm and everything and made sure that he's getting the recovery that he needs. So.
Yeah, I did see there was a brief interview actually. I don't know whether Yvonne Sampson or whoever it was did it with him, but he talked on it how coming back from the first one, it was because that was a pretty insane injury in itself. It was questionable whether he'd be able to play again, which he came back with relatively miraculously. I think I didn't think he was out for that long in comparison to how long he could have been. Came back and then only 2 or 3 rounds afterwards broke his ankle. He had that horrible ankle injury. So has done very well. He's probably got the fact that he's a bit younger on his side, so he's got that time left in his career. But yeah, definitely coming back and in relatively decent form too. So he's only going to improve again once that spine is all back together, like it's their normal setup.
That's going to be disgusting to watch this year.
Yeah, it will be.
Pappenhausen and Munster back together.
Yeah, yep.
Woohoo!
Yeah, give them a couple games or a couple rounds together just to get their stuff sort of tweaked and in form, just all sorted.
It's a big victory for football lovers everywhere. Honestly, straight up.
Yeah, definitely. Next game was Eels and Bulldogs. I think probably a little bit disappointing if you're a Bulldogs fan, really, right? Like you've recruited. And you're not going to come out and, blow the world away straight away, obviously, but you just sort of maybe expected a little bit more. Again, they just, I don't know whether the combinations are there just yet or whatnot. I'm not too sure. They just looked a little bit disjointed. There were certain players that I think stood out. Curran had a pretty good game in my opinion.
Even at the Warriors, though, he would always be a solid solid input.
Yeah, definitely, exactly right. And they had Crichton. Crichton as the captain, I think, did relatively all right as well. In my opinion, he didn't do too bad. Obviously, it's, again, coming from the Panthers. They've had it the last couple of seasons buying Panthers players. It's a completely new system, completely different style of gameplay. They're not coming into the same sort of team or the same sort of dynamic, so they're going to have to figure it out. But yeah, that's something I think with time, and you just hope, if you're a Bulldogs fan, you just hope sooner rather than later. Really, it
100%.
feels like probably for them it's been a long time coming. You know,
Because where was Critter playing in that game? He was
in the centres.
He was centres, right?
Yeah, exactly right.
Should he not be the fullback?
I think that's probably maybe the end goal there, because Taff played fullback. They brought Taff as well, but I can't see him personally. It's a bit like Averillo. I don't think he's going to be the full-time fullback, in all honesty.
But I feel like Averillo can at least play centres.
Yeah, it may be maybe a bit more of a play centres for now, because you can't deny it. Crichton's probably one of, if not the best attacking centre in the game currently. He just, his stats are out of this world at Panthers, especially.
Can you be a full, like a really bolstering leader from a center position though? I feel like as a fullback, you're going to have a lot more authority over what's moving where, and a bit, the constant moving parts of the attack.
Yeah.
I think you put Critter in there, and maybe things change a little bit faster.
Yeah, potentially as well. I personally thought it was a bit odd for him to come in and be the captain of the team first year and whatnot. Like, and for someone that probably hasn't really had that role as of yet, had much of a run in it.
Look at it. He's had the weight of the world thrown on his shoulders, and now he's got some sort of ridiculous expectation too, considering, I mean, after that game, that people are going to be looking at him real hard. So
yeah, maybe a bit, but yeah, it's like I said, I thought it was a bit funny just for him to be straight up put as a captain, not even like a co-captain or something. You'd think you'd have someone that's been in the team a little bit longer,
at least like Adokar or something.
Yeah, been there for the last couple of seasons. Exactly right. But it's Seraldo. Seraldo has worked with him previously at the Panthers, so you can't really question his judgment on him there. We'll just see what happens. But yeah, I think you're probably right there in that he probably will move back to fullback eventually, because I'm pretty sure that's what they brought him for, or that's what he wanted to go there for, wasn't it? Those were the headlines initially.
He wanted to be in that dominant attacking spot,
Yeah, I mean,
that role.
That's what Adokar as well wanted to go there for, when we haven't really seen much of any of that. But I think, that will probably be the game plan eventually down the line, once they do have a full set roster and his replacement, because they've got Connor Tracy there as well, who could easily slip into the centres and do quite well.
Centres, yeah.
So we'll see what comes with them. But the Eels, credit to the Eels, they came out and they played quite well, actually. Very, very dominant game.
Moses looked pretty good.
He did.
Moses looked awesome.
Yeah.
To be real.
Yep. He's one that I think the last sort of few seasons that I've watched anyway, he starts the season real well, and then he tends to drop off toward the end, around Origin or just after Origin period. He tends to drop off a little bit, but I think each year, obviously, there's a bit more experience and whatnot, and more combination with Dylan Brown. So I think it's
who also played very well.
Yeah, exactly. I think he's hopefully he's in for a big year. I think he will be in for a big year. Honestly, I'm sure there's a few Eels fans who are sitting there cursing right now, saying obviously he is, but I think he'll be in for a very big year. I noticed. I think he might have done maybe a little bit of whether it was a hammy or a groin injury.
It was a groin injury that he picked up when he was. It's like a pass, I think he threw.
Oh, okay. Just a bit awkward
it might have been a kick. Sorry, no, it might have been a kick that he let go, and then he sort of pulled up. He was like,
Yeah.
But he spoke about it after the game. He said he'll be right. It's a bit of rehab, but I think it was also confirmed today that he's going to be okay. He's good. He's good for next week.
Bit of a burner or something more so than anything.
A burner, I'd say.
That's just the one thing I did notice was, I mean, he's known for his kicking game. The kicking duty sort of went off to Dylan Brown quite quick after that. So, and for the rest of the game, really. So,
and he held his own too. So
and like you were saying, Dylan Brown had a great game. Definitely the forwards. I think everyone there really stood out and did quite well. And then Bryce,
actually, RCG had a cracker of a game.
Yeah,
too.
Campbell Gillard did very well. Bryce Cartwright as well. Quick special little mention. I mean, moved around. I think he ended up moving into lock for a bit of time as well. So did quite good. We saw him sort of dominate last year in that edge role and whatnot. So he might even be in for a little bit more of that rotation into lock, just to sort of free that bench up and get a bit more of a dynamic going there. Dragons and Titans was again probably another somewhat surprising result. Dragons just looked on fire. Like whatever they've been practicing or whatever their new game plan is, just they looked unbeatable.
The Ben Hunt and the Terrell Sloan combination is
it's coming together very well.
That's coming together really nicely. Now they've had a proper off season together.
Yep.
Kind of like it. Looks good.
Much to his disgust too, probably. I think Lomax did very well on the wing.
Actually, yeah, I do agree, and I know that he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah,
he wants to do other stuff, which is fair enough. Everyone wants to do other stuff. That's not how it works.
It's not his preferred position.
That's not how it works.
We know how great he is or can be in the centres. He's probably the last season or so struggled a little bit. Form's dropped off, but yeah, I just think on the wing he was insane. There was a kick. I'm pretty sure Hunt put it up anyway. A kick that went up, and he chased it and bang straight into his arms.
And I mean, both him and Hunt have always been a great combo. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But I think it makes sense to have him on the wing as well, just because it supports that. It supports the way that Ben plays as well. You know?
Yeah. Yep.
Ben's a very aggressive, run up the line. Like they call him the dozer, right? That's what he's for. So, I understand his qualms and that he would like to be something different. But you should also play to your strengths and the team strengths that are around you. And I think that if he actually continues as a winger, he might even like to enjoy it because he's kind of on the pump now. That
possibly, exactly. Once he starts, getting a few tries and whatnot, and
might come around a bit.
Yeah, exactly right. But yeah, I think he did very well.
I thought it was excellent.
He did very well there. Even that kick he caught, I think it was even a textbook Lomax flick pass behind that he got away, which didn't go forward or didn't go to the ground, which was good. And Flanagan, I think had a relatively good game.
Yeah.
First game in that position with the team, but I think he did quite well.
Granted, he didn't have a really he didn't have a seasoned opposite to fight him, so we'll see how he goes in a game with like a full roster that he's versing.
Yep. I think as a whole, Flanagan's obviously gone in with Shane Flanagan, I should say, has gone in with a plan, or he's got an idea of how he wants to run that team or have it set up. And I mean, by all signs from that first game, going to take a few rounds to see proper results, but I think it's relatively positive for Dragons fans. They for someone that I think people were probably touting to be in contention for the spoon, I think they're probably in better stead this year, just from what we saw from that match.
Immediately, we're looking at someone who's not a wooden spoon recipient anyway.
From that game. Yeah, exactly right.
I don't know, just based off what we see from those combinations there in that game, I'd be willing to hedge bets that it's definitely not wooden spoon. I'm still looking elsewhere for a spoon.
Yeah. I think there is a little bit
maybe not much further than Titans, but we'll see.
There is a little bit of a factor in that the Titans really didn't play that great as well. They had a late exclusion.
Missing so many of their like
first grade stars.
Stars. Yeah. Like no Fafita, no Campbell.
Yeah, Foreign was a late out too. So
yep.
They didn't play great. Not to take anything away from the Dragons, mind you, but Titans just did not play great. It took, I think, the better part of the first half for them to get points, but to get anything done. They just attacked the line that many times and just could not come away with anything.
And they did have a fair bit of possession too. Like they still, it wasn't like some sort of skewed game. They just couldn't put anything together.
Yeah, it wasn't as if they were defending for 80 minutes or you know what I mean. It was it just nothing seemed to come off. They probably did lack a little bit of direction, maybe. I don't know. I noticed Weaver filled in last year as well, but he came in and it just seemed to me a little bit like he might have not been clued in or wasn't sort of on the same level as what Foreign would have been in terms of the game plan. Like
it was like he just missed the memo.
Yeah, somewhat.
It was like he's like, well, I've got no idea what's going on, so I'm going to play my own game and try that. And you could see that he was actually doing some cool things.
Yeah.
But no one else knew what the fuck was going on, so it was like it was just very disjointed. Yeah, very
Yeah.
very shades of very shades of Penrith's attack.
Yeah, tough one, tough night at the office for the Titans and Desi Hasler, because both coaches, obviously, that's their first.
Poor Des in the box too.
Yeah, that's their first game coaching the teams, or being the coach, the first grade coach for the teams for the season. So,
It was funny watching him in the box though.
yeah,
It's like watching Craig Bellamy. It's good content.
It is a little bit. It's all up from here. It can only be all up from here. But I think, he would have been telling the boys at the end of that match at full time, bring your shoes, because there'll be a fair bit of running happening on Monday.
Boy.
Yeah. It was just, I don't think we've seen the Titans that you can't really judge that team as it was off of that performance, for the rest of the season. But yeah, I don't think we saw them really play to their potential or how they should be.
No, not at all.
I think once they do start getting a couple players back, I mean, Campbell's not that far off. He's only 2-3 rounds away. They've got the bye this weekend, but he's only 2 or 3 rounds away, so it shouldn't be too long until they start getting their stars back and maybe getting back to the form they should be in. But
even missing Fafita, that's a $1 million man.
Yeah, exactly right. It's a big exclusion. And last match of the round, Dolphins versus the Cowboys down at Suncorp Stadium. That was quite a miraculous game, I think. Really,
There's so much I want to say, but there's so much I want to save.
Just from watching the Cowboys anyway, it looked like everything was as it should have been. There was just everyone was on the same page almost. It felt like the attack was the attack flowed very well, very freely. Yeah, it was exactly right. Everything was just coming off, and I think it's probably partially as well the Dolphins weren't that great. They were a bit average, but
I will say, and yes, granted that Hammer didn't have
as good of a game as he could have and probably should have.
Hammer probably busted the fuse a few too many times. Just a little bit of brain explosion on a couple there, but look, realistically, from the attack perspective, watching Scotty Drinkwater play that way felt very good to watch.
Yeah,
but
confident.
Also watching Chad Townsend actually pick his game up and sort of go, okay, I'm gonna start supporting some players, start running a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look, towards the end of the year, he was probably not in the best shape.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see him actually running the line and stuff like that now.
Yeah, attacking the line, exactly.
Like literally just following up with your play. Make sure dot the T's, cross the I's.
Yep.
Other way around.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah.
So it was nice to see that more than anything.
Yep.
I think there was the edge fix as well. So with Kyle and Zach, pretty awesome. That was awesome, I think.
Yeah, that combination was great. It was again only one game, but tenfold better than what we saw, round 1 last year, even.
Round 1 through 20.
Yeah. Last year, just there wasn't as much, I guess, question. There weren't as many questions, I think, in defence and whatnot. I think Leibutt's sort of amazing attacking centre, but I think his defence is probably a bit better than Hiku's, really. So it's probably
substantially.
It's
better.
probably giving Kyle, I think, a little bit more confidence, which is good. That was the reoccurring theme we saw last year, right? Kyle jamming in to try and cover, but
he's only doing that to fix Hiku's mistake.
That's what I mean.
Place.
Yeah. He there just wasn't that confidence in defence, so he was sort of overcompensating there, which then every team just went sweet, cut out pass or kick if I got a fast winger, and bang, try points like that.
Don't get me wrong. No bias. Kyle did have a couple of rough games last year where there were genuine decisions where he made them incorrect.
Yeah.
But
made the wrong choice.
For the most part, a lot of that blame really should fall on Hiku for a lot of it.
Yeah. Definitely, it was shared. It was definitely some shared poor decisions and form last year. You can't. It's easy enough to dirk on the guy that's gone out of the team, but definitely, definitely wasn't how it should have been, or even how it was the season prior. So it's good to see, I think, young Leibutt come in, and like we spoke about earlier in the last podcast, I think, actually, sorry, he just came in and made that position his own. He's sort of
100%.
He's proven that's his spot.
He
So
proved it last year
Yep.
as well.
Yep.
And I think he's made a very, very good running track for the start of this year too.
Exactly right. Yeah. So I think he'll hold on to that, providing, and Todd even said it in the post match press conference. If you watched it, he said as long as he keeps turning up to training, keeps his head down, and does his job, that'll be his spot. So he's made a good case for it already. Some of those tries were just, they were marvelous to watch. That first one to him, I think you were talking about before you were watching the replay. Just,
epic.
Yeah.
So sick. And it looks like such a basic try, but when you actually when you break it down and compartmentalize it, it's an epic try. It is an epic try.
Yeah, just that step inside, and then the dummy flick pass.
The dummy flick, and that's what I mean. Chad actually running the line, finishing that
in
play
support.
off, making sure that dot your I's, cross your T's. Got it that time.
Yeah.
Literally just continuing, making sure that play is finished.
Yeah. Yep.
That's
Going
all
right
he
to the
needed to
death of
do.
it.
All he needed to do was run, and that's it. And Zach did the rest of the work, and it was perfect. It was beautiful. It was poetry in motion.
It was some beautiful rugby league catching the defender off as well. It keeps, like you said, Chad following through, keeps those defenders asking questions.
Gets on the outside of Tessie.
Yep.
And then just absolutely hits the fattest Duke on both.
Yeah.
on both. I think it was
Hammer.
It was Hammer and who else was it? There was someone else too.
Hammer and you.
Jerry Marshall King.
Okay. Yeah.
I think they both contested and went for Chad instead and made the defensive choice to go for Chad.
Yeah. Yep.
Ball didn't even leave his hands.
Yeah. No, beautiful. It was a beautiful try.
So good.
The other one being, and it was probably a bit more so Hammer's blunder than anything, but that Lukey try was great. Just the fact that they were there chasing and then ready to make that tackle. Like, obviously they're ready to make that tackle, and then Hammer's, I'm not too sure what he was thinking.
It just has to be the biggest brain explosion we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, could have dived on the ball, could have punted it.
He could have done literally anything else.
He had to kick it, could have punted it down the other end of the field. But
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, perfect little grubber, just enough straight up into Lukey's hands, 15, 20 meters out, and doing thank you for coming. So Lukey, I think, had a great game. Lukey and Nenai was insane as well. It's amazing to see him back in form. Straight out.
I think he really needed an off-season desperately, especially with all those injuries,
suspension, and injuries. Yeah,
just
exactly.
Niggle after niggle until it was too much.
Yeah. He came out and was on fire, man. I think he had he didn't have a try. He batted the ball back, I think, for Cotter for that try,
correct,
disallowed try or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was wild. He was there in everything. But yeah, Lukey as well. I think, in terms of edge pairings, I think we've hopefully that's what we've got for the year. Barring any injury or suspension or whatnot, I think we'll be very very dangerous. It'll be a very dangerous combination there. Pairing.
Excited for that for sure.
Yeah, definitely. The biggest, I think, we'll talk about the Dolphins first, but just very, again, disjointed. There's a few new combinations there as well, obviously. So again, can't shit on them too much until they've got a bit more game time together. But yeah, just very disjointed. A few silly errors, and I'm not too sure.
Honestly, I got a lot of Broncos vibes from that game.
Yeah,
they just gave up.
Yeah,
they just got tilted and gave up.
Toward the end, it was almost a bit like they were like, "Oh, well, what the fuck's going on here?"
But even like straight after halftime, they came out on the field, chips on their shoulders. It was just It didn't really want to get anything done.
You would have been mad if you were a Dolphins forward, I thought, anyway. With,
100%. They were the only ones that were actually on the field trying to still run shit.
The majority of them, yeah. Like every run of the ball, Flegler took, again, going for a hit up, then just looking around to see if there's anyone he can potentially offload to or anything, and yelling as soon as he hits the ground, yelling because no one's there ready for the next play.
And between Ray and Mark, they both had opportunities constantly, like 24/7.
Yeah,
I think even Kafusi had some good opportunities to get balls away, and just no one pushing up. It was just like, what's going on, man?
Yeah. Whether it was a little bit of lack of confidence, I don't know. Like O'Sullivan, I think as well. Maybe it seemed like, I can't say he was lacking confidence. I don't know, but just didn't seem to be locked in as such. I mean, there were a few, even tackles, like going in for tackles, he'd be there, but it was almost as if he was just expecting someone else to maybe make the tackle and him just be part of it. I don't know. He got bumped a few times, but just a few things where really they were just questionable. It was just, what was the end goal when making that decision? You know, like some kicks, it was like, oh, we've got to.
It was just a lot of the decisions very much seemed like just not thought out or calculated.
Yeah,
at
maybe
all.
off the cuff, but almost
Yeah.
like to no game plan. I don't know. A lot of kicks were very shades of Chad Townsend last year. You know what I mean? It was like
A little bit, actually, yeah.
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 But yeah, can't judge them too harshly just yet. Like I said, a lot of new combinations, a few new combinations there, and it's only early season, early days. So I think Josh Kerr actually had quite a good game. Josh Kerr came on.
Actually,
he was
yeah.
playing 14 in that utility. He came on and had a really good game, I think.
And he was swapping with Flegler too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, Bostock, I think had an all right game as well, being his first, really his first shot for the year. Hopefully he gets a bit more game time there. I think he will, but not too bad of a game. They're just probably just a bit surprising in that you'd think maybe they would have Farnworth there. And
I just thought Herbie would have done more too, to be honest.
Yeah, they almost.
But they didn't go to him.
They didn't seem to go to him much.
Yeah.
He didn't get the opportunity, is what I thought personally, for
100%.
someone so dominant. And
Did
attacking.
they practice anything
Yeah.
for him?
Yeah.
Like, did they do any plays? Like, you have to
Yeah.
question it because, like, I think they went to him like twice.
Yeah.
It was pretty. Wasn't what I expected.
Yeah.
Thought they'd be going to him all night.
Who knows? Again, you can only really chalk it up to being a little bit of rust in that, new combinations and a bit of rust. So hopefully they do sort of pull it together a bit more in the coming rounds. But yeah, just a little bit, I think, subpar for what you'd expect for the Dolphins. Just start of the season, and then
For what it's worth, that was a tip.
yeah,
I got right.
yeah, exactly right. And you got to touch on it. The some of the officiating, especially the
Penalty try.
yeah, the bunker calls. I mean, you'd expect on-field officiating you can get annoyed with all you want, but when you've got a bunker referee that has every opportunity to look at stuff and every angle to look at stuff, but still just gets it so wrong. Like, I lost count of, and this is both sides. I'm not like that. How many teams or how many forward passes between the two teams? Sorry, that they let forward passes go to touchies. It just.
And I agree. This wasn't just like it was the Dolphins getting away with it. It was probably more the Cowboys getting away with a lot of stuff.
I think so. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
Talangi's try, it went Dearden, Holmes. So Dearden to Holmes was questionable. Holmes to Talangi was forward.
Apparently, see, I thought that was forward too, and then apparently Annesley came out and actually said, no, this is how this happened, and said that it wasn't. I haven't actually watched that video, but apparently that's what he's done. So I'd be interested to watch that eventually. But
redefine the laws of physics
as
a referee.
Apparently that was actually not forward, and I looked at that and I gone, nah.
Well, I mean, yeah.
No way.
Cool. Annesley's he's ruled that it's not forward. I mean, I hope he's got explanations for the other 15.
But the other
between the two teams,
and even though a lot of them didn't result in a try or anything like that, they were still blatantly fucking forward.
And there were a couple there, and like I felt bad for the Dolphins because it was almost like a set of hours where there were 2 or 3, 4. It was almost like they were throwing them just to see who got pulled up. And the Dolphins.
Well, remember that one set where they did 2 or 3 in a row, and then they finally got pulled up, and it was like
that was it. It was the Dolphins had the ball.
Yeah.
They were getting down toward the try line too, and second or third one in a row, I think it was, and they finally pulled it up. So yeah, it just took that long for any.
It's kind of funny sitting in the leagues club watching it because you could hear everyone around you going, oh.
Yeah.
It's like this great elation.
It almost got to that point where it was like, oh, well, I mean, why aren't they throwing forward passes anymore? They might as well be. Yeah, it was something. It was pretty subpar, honestly.
And I mean, the penalty try. I mean, I don't want to spend an infinite time on it because it was a fucking joke, but
yeah, that's what it is.
It was so ridiculous that literally every single player on the field, including the Dolphins, no one was talking about it. No one cared. It was just like, let's go play the ball because this is clearly just a restart.
Yeah,
and it's like, what? We were ready to play. Like, what do you mean?
I think there was that's it. No one on field. I don't think
disreputes.
No player. I don't think was questioning it because everyone sort of like that was a complete and utter blunder by Nenai
Incredible.
and Laybutt, just, a bit of your ball, and then by the time Laybutt made the decision, it was too late. He, if anything, he went to bat it or went to throw his hands toward it, but he didn't make
He overran it anyway.
He didn't make he overran it anyway, didn't make a play at it, and Bostock coming in toward the end there and shoving him. If you want to referee and officiate to the letter of the law, then you can say, yeah, he's attempted to impede him or made an attempt to impede the play. So at best, I think using your discretion as a referee, which we see them do quite regularly, it's a penalty.
It's just penalty.
Because I've seen that many penalty tries go through as a penalty where the player is a 1,000 times more likely to...
Is the definition not of a penalty try to be without a shadow of a doubt? It has to be with 100% certainty that they would have scored that try?
Yeah, exactly. There's been that many the last few seasons that are, there's who's to say they're not going to ground it? Whereas Laybutt there, how the fuck was he going to ground that?
There's no way.
He didn't even have
neither
hands
of them,
on.
neither him or Nenai had a chance. It was just they both overran it in the first place.
Yeah.
It just there was no chance. It blows my mind.
I think it was just someone maybe trying to do a little bit too much, maybe, and in the end making a fool of themselves. So hopefully there is a little bit of a talking to go on, and the consistency thing we always talk about, it improves and the quality improves of it. But that's, I think by far, that was probably the worst call of the round I saw, next to Felt's disallowed try because his thumb doesn't count as having contact with it.
I think that was purely just to make up for the fact that they screwed up.
Evened it up, take away the points we got from that penalty try for that, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, it was very shocking. Like,
it was something.
Between, like you said, the touchies not being there and then the video ref, I think,
mind
doing a bit too much or trying to do a bit too much.
100%. And I mean, mind you, I guess the one good thing you can take away from that whole thing, that whole blunder, was the images of Toddy in the box.
Oh yeah,
because I think even he was like,
Hot Toddy, very happy. He was he knew that the laugh was of pure arrogance. He knew how ridiculous it was.
It was just the fucking stupidest thing.
Yeah. So good signs. I mean, take away that penalty try, we still thumped them. I think we still put a set of points on them, but yeah,
you can take away both the ones that we, if you want to disallow Tulungi's, even though Annesley thinks otherwise, I still think it was forward. But
I think
take away that. You can take away the penalty. You can even take away Kyle's. We still win.
Yeah, I think exactly right. I think they did enough to prove in that game anyway. They've done enough to prove they deserved the win.
100%.
Personally,
100%.
So. It was pretty good round anyway. Round one, I think it was, like you said, nice to have back, and it was entertaining. Thankfully, round two we're getting everything in the one weekend again here. We got
before we do go on as well with the next round, most entertaining, least entertaining rounds.
Games, you reckon? Most entertaining, I think we probably touched on already. I would have to give to probably Seagulls and Rabbits, in my opinion. I just think, even though it was early first game of the round, I just think, and it was, like a mini Origin or whatever. Least entertaining, hard to pick up. Maybe the Knights.
The Knights one.
Knights Canberra, maybe. Yep. I think just for we're just watching the Knights play was a bit sad. You know
saddening,
what I mean?
Yeah. Especially after the Phoenix Croswell thing, that blew my mind. But I think for me, it's got to be it's a tough one between that Cows game and that I think to avoid the bias calls, I will say that it would be the Manly game. I was so thrilled by that game. That was, and it might have been to do with the fact that it was the first game of the round. So I was like, edge of the seat, let's go. I want footy.
Mm-hmm.
But fuck, it was awesome.
Yep.
It was so awesome.
Yep.
Everything about it was awesome. Didn't care who won. Didn't care who lost. It was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Great showcase of what rugby league can be to those Americans. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Worst round, for me, it had to be the Eels and the Bulldogs. I almost don't want to watch another Bulldogs game after that, but I will.
Bit disappointing.
Holy. It was something. It was something. We'll give it that. We'll see what they bring next week.
Yeah, hopefully hopefully we do see, that little bit of improvement. But I think, a few positional changes, maybe a new game plan. Again, Seraldo knows what he's doing. He knows what he's got with some of his players there. So
we hope so.
Yeah, hopefully, we do see some improvement for our fellow Bulldogs fans getting around. Round 2, we've got Thursday night kicking off the round is, as you were saying, Broncos and Rabbitohs. So, I think, it's at Suncorp. I think I've got to tip Broncos again. As I said, it was a bit disjointed, you know what I mean? But I think I've still got to give it to the Broncos. I think they will be a bit more back on their game this one. It is at home. The Rabbitohs, I don't know. Although they were all right. They didn't do too well over in Vegas. I think they just got outplayed by Manly in the end.
I think they were just straight up tilted at that point.
Yeah.
They just let it get to them.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to have that much of an issue with tilt against the Bunnies, especially after the training session. They will inevitably have to cop.
Yeah.
Over this last week.
Yeah. Yep.
After that, they're probably going to be flogged. But
I think personally, I think Broncos have they've got to come away with the win with this one. I think
this is also a margin game too.
Yeah, it will be. I think Piakura is potentially going to be sitting out for this one just due to that head knock, the 11-day stand down. I think it might be Thursday would make it 11 days, so he probably would need that extra day for it to be out of that period. But I think they've got enough cover there. They've got enough that they can set that up. Teamless Tuesday this afternoon, we'll find out. But I think they've got enough cover there to have a decent little.
Now, is Reynolds actually back or not?
I didn't know he was out. It looks like he may have had a knee complaint. It says back round 2, whether it was maybe just something reported or a bit of a
because after that game he did pull up a bit ginger with his knee.
Yeah. Yep.
And I thought he was going to be out this round, but it does also say that he's going to be back round 2. Yeah. We'll have a look. So I guess that's going to be a late inclusion if he isn't.
Well, Teamless Tuesday. Drop in this week. We'll see. I can't see him not being named. I think he will be named, but
you'd have to imagine that if Reno is not there, then you probably go Bunnies there.
You might find in the 21 that there's a few. They've got I think Jock Madden, is it? Jock Madden who filled in, and also Smoothie's their utility there, so there might be something there in terms of the team. They might have them floating around. Potentially. It may sort of hinder a tip, I think. I'd have to, again, compare both teams, but, we can only wait and see, I guess.
I think it's a good punt regardless.
Yeah. What are you thinking for that game?
So I've currently got Broncos by 6, but I think if there's no Reno, I'm concerned and would go Bunnies by maybe 8.
Yeah, considering changing the tip.
Just no. I feel like they lack direction when Reno is not there. It's the same thing that happens whenever Reese or Reno gets out.
Yeah,
Reno's out, they lack direction. Reese is out, they lack attack.
Yeah,
so it's
yep.
I don't know. It's a touchy one when one of those guys goes out. So
almost rob Peter to pay Paul.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Sweet. First game on Friday, Sharks versus Bulldogs. I think everyone's probably going to be tipping Sharks. Dogs are the roughies, but just after those 2 performances in round 1, I don't think you can tip the Bulldogs other than if you're an avid Bulldog supporter. It's just you're going to need to see a bit more. I'm going to need to see a bit more from them, I think, before I can put any faith in them.
I think it's definitely a bit of an up Cronulla angle.
Yeah.
But
yep.
But that said, just to play devil's advocate, they weren't that great either.
Yeah.
So it's like...
Yeah, exactly right. Anything could happen.
Yeah, it's one of those games where it's a coin flip and it's just gonna be a wait and watch, I think. But I will be going Sharks, I think.
Yeah. I don't think they've got anyone out as such in terms of injuries and things there, so there's probably not going to be too much changing in the way of the team. Bulldogs, again, they're losing Addo Carr. They're going to lose Addo Carr, so...
Actually, yeah, Addo Carr's out injury, right?
That's pretty big, and for on the wing there. You might even see Carraz potentially slot onto the wing, and then
maybe ignore the devil's advocate.
yeah, maybe Carraz onto the wing, back onto the wing, and potentially have Connor Tracy come into the centres, or even Tracy on the wing. We're not too sure yet. We'll see this afternoon. But I think Sharks. You've got to give it to the Sharks on that one. Friday, the second game is Panthers and Eels. Now, this one will be interesting, especially after both teams' performances in round one there. And the Eels are pretty notorious for being the bogey team for the Panthers.
They're the Achilles heel, bro. They're the Achilles heel.
They just seem to find and when they're firing as well, they just seem to find a way to get it done. The Panthers they get them on tilt. The Panthers just can't seem to compete. I don't know what it is, but
and that's like the last 3 years.
Exactly, they have
3 or 4 years.
They
just seem to beat them.
They've been their bogey team. Exactly. I'm gonna tip the Panthers again. They're probably gonna do me wrong, and I'm gonna hate them even more because they're not winning when they probably should be. But tip the Panthers again on this because I think they should have a little bit more consistency now. I think they should probably have a bit more of a game plan going back into this. Hopefully they can. I mean, they're not losing anyone to injury, or there shouldn't be any positional swaps or anything. But yeah, I think I'll have to go Panthers for this one. What about you?
As I've just shown you, I've got Eels. Shout out Haldane, shout out Jesse.
Yep.
I think that the Eels have actually they can't seem to lose to the Panthers. I don't know what it is. It's such a strange stat as well. It's so bizarre. And honestly, especially after the whole round one thing with the Storm, the whole you can't beat Craig in round one. Maybe I'll back
it's an omen, bit of an omen thing.
Maybe I'll back the omen. I'll go for the omen. I'm sure it'll kick me in the ass, but I'll cop it.
Yep. And Eels are done just enough, you reckon, just to be able to continue that and keep that form. Very nice. Saturday's game, we've got Tigers and Raiders. So Tigers obviously having the bye round one. They're coming in fresh. Having not seen their form yet or a hit out from them, I'm going to tip the Raiders just again because if they play anything like they did, in round one, and the Tigers aren't sort of coming out firing. I think they may just be able to get it over them. Could be done by the Tigers. Who knows?
Yeah, look, I think
it's their game to surprise everyone. But yeah,
I think everyone and their nan's got Raiders because it's a day game for one, and it's at home.
Yeah, so, it's in Canberra. Yeah,
it's at home. So I just can't see, especially after they played.
Yep.
And don't get me wrong, I cannot wait to see those Tigers actually come out because I really want to see them play and see how they go with this squad.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to see what Appy's done over this offseason. I'm super excited for it. So I'm actually more excited for this game than probably most of the other games this round.
Yeah.
But I still can't not go the Raiders here because they just really put on a clinic. It wasn't like a amazing game, like flashy game or anything like that.
They just played football.
They just played a really clinical, good game of footy.
They stuck to that Raiders brand of football, and that's it.
Keep Ricky happy.
That's it. Edged him out. Yeah, so I mean that's probably your common sense tip, right? You tipping the Raiders for that one. Could go either way, like round one did, but it's probably your common sense tip. Next up, the 4:30 game, second game of Saturday, is Cowboys and Knights. Now that's the Cowboys' first home game. It's their first home game here, and boy, am I enjoying seeing first on the ladder for the Cowboys at the moment.
That's hot.
That's a screenshot I'm going to take.
That is hot.
Might possibly be the last time I
see it
for the rest
for
of the
a round
season.
one.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm bias aside, thinking how both teams played. Knights are going to come out desperate. They are going to need to claw that form back and just prove that was a bit of a blunder of a game. I think they might O'Brien might drill a bit into them this week at training, but I just think
He's giving me Madge vibes a bit.
Yeah, a little bit. I think the Cowboys, I think they've done enough so far, showed enough that they've got a good thing going, good connection and good game plan going. So if they can continue that at home as well, continue that on Saturday afternoon against a relatively disjointed Knights, then I think the Cowboys are going to come away with it.
God damn, that's hot though. I mean, honestly, summarized pretty well. I just don't. After what we saw in round one, and I mean, granted, last year is definitely evidence that it can change very
Exactly
quickly.
right.
After what we saw in round one, I just can't see a different result.
Yeah.
Maybe that is my bias speaking. I don't know, but I've got to give it to the Cows. Again, I think it's going to be one of those everyone and their nan's tipping them. So
Yeah, exactly. It's maybe you could say a common sense bet potentially, but I think I think from what we've seen in that round one, I think you probably more or less got to go the Cowboys, right?
yeah, 100%.
And then the last game of Saturday is Storm versus Warriors. That's in Melbourne. So after the defensive clinic, the effort the Storm put in against the Panthers last week, I think, it's got to be Storm, has to be. Warriors, like we said, they came out strong in that game.
Missing anyone?
Melbourne.
Warriors.
Warriors are missing. They've got Tua Pickey at fullback, so I'm pretty sure.
So they're missing Chance.
Chance is out, for a little bit. I think it may only be 2 or 3 rounds, though. There hasn't actually, I don't think there's any surefire thing. But I think it's only a couple rounds he's filling in.
Yeah.
In terms of the forwards, not really.
Because Chance is a pretty important inclusion, especially considering a very, very large majority of the balls that DWZ scored off from Chance.
Yeah.
So
yep.
that combo is pretty important.
Mm.
So I'm thinking if he's not back, which by the sounds of things doesn't sound like he's going to be back.
Yep.
I think you have to not even give them a chance and go Storm.
Yeah. Yep. Look, I personally, I think even if he was and Warriors were same form as they were in the last year, I think Melbourne have probably still got to pip them.
And seriously, that defense was something special.
They're usually pretty big games, Melbourne and the Warriors actually in Melbourne. I find,
especially in Melbourne,
yeah, they are. They usually do tend to be quite big matches, but I think I just think Melbourne have done more than enough to prove they're serious, and they're in form at the moment. Having Harry there at captain as well, he's I think he's really taken that upon his shoulders and running the team,
And good on him too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so Storm, you go on Storm as well.
I'm going Storm, but I want to say we didn't even touch on Harry Grant either. We there's so much to like about that Storm team this season, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, coming rounds leading up to Origin as well, because I'm quite sure, providing nothing bad happens, he'll be picked in the Origin team. But I think he's got everything to prove. It's his position or his title to hold on to at the moment as captain, and I think he did quite well. Did quite well on the weekend for that.
Very exciting stuff.
First game on Sunday afternoon is Seagulls versus Roosters. So again, the other two Vegas teams.
This could be the game of the round.
Could potentially be.
Could be game of the round.
If it's anything like they played in Vegas against the other two respective teams, I think you're probably right. There is every potential for it. It is in Manly at Four Pines Park there at Manly's home game, but I just think there were just so many guns, firing in those two games. I mean, Manu had a hell of a game. Tedesco was insane.
Teddy's form this year, we didn't touch on it either, but my God, he's taken some serious criticism last year, I think, and he's really turned it up.
Yeah, exactly. Sort of.
And necessary. Don't get me wrong, but fantastic to watch. He was incredible at Vegas.
Yeah, showed the naysayers, why he's one of the best fullbacks around. It has been.
100%.
You know what I mean? So
as slippery as ever, and Jesus Christ, can he throw some incredible passes? And make some incredible runs.
Exactly right. If he can continue that form, because Roosters are notoriously slow starters. If he can continue that form. And the Roosters, can continue that form. They've got, I think, JWH should be back this week too, potentially.
Next week, I thought.
Next week, okay, possibly.
Maybe.
You might be right. Yeah, he is. He's not too far off. We'll have a quick squiz.
It's got to be close.
On the casualty ward round 2 due to suspension, so he should be
back.
I would imagine he'll be named, but they do obviously lose Lanu. Won't be too big of a deal. They've got a few.
That's just a 1-for-1 anyway, right?
Yeah, they got a few other players as well. Especially if Tilly's out, but they've got a few players that can slot in and fill those positions, so I don't think they'll be too concerned there. Probably, after what I saw, I think I'm going to tip the Roosters, just because I think if they are firing, they do come back and they're firing, albeit I think it might be a close game. I think the Roosters can just get it over them. Manly, and it's good for Manly fans, I think. everyone in their respective positions just did their job and did it well last week, though. Brooks coming in, actually having a confident and experienced 7 beside him to run the game while he runs the ball and does what Brooks does, or is known for doing well. Just does that. Is an attacking threat. And then you've got your centers, your edge Ben Travojevic coming in, had an absolutely outstanding game, I think. In position, taken over for, I believe he was in there, filling in for the half, our buddy that can't seem to get Schuster.
Yeah, Schuster. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's got that position for a little bit longer yet. I think he was insane, but I don't know. I feel like the Roosters may just be able to get the job done. Manly are hard to beat at Brookvale at 4 Pines, but...
So I initially had Manly for this because, quite frankly, I was just way more stoked with what I saw from everything that Manly put up. Especially how they managed to get under the bunny's skin like they did. They really turned them on tilt.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Really did. And this is at home as well. So I did actually have the Seagulls, and I just changed it then to the Roosters.
Yep.
Because I just reminded myself that Saab is out.
Yep.
And that is a big loss.
Yep, definitely.
Big loss for sure. And even though the TBJ looks pretty hot.
Yep.
Tom, Ben, and Turbo, or Jobo rather, Jake.
Yep.
Especially with JWH coming back as well.
Yep.
I think they're gonna get cop a big return serve. I think they're gonna get a taste of their own medicine from round 1.
Yeah. Yep.
And I don't know if they can really get it over the Roosters on that outside.
Yeah, exactly.
Without Saab as well there.
Yep. So Roosters.
I'm gonna go Roosters for sure, I think now.
Sweet. And last game of the round, again, the Dolphins playing the final game of the round against the Dragons. It is at KO Stadium. It is at Dolphins' home ground in Redcliffe, albeit Suncorp isn't too far from home for them.
Tell you what, how incredible is that? Are those odds? Like,
yeah, exactly right. Even odds, especially considering how both teams competed. I think that's probably going to be due to a little bit of potentially we know the Dolphins are better than what they played on the weekend, so I think they're going to come back, and I that's the reason I'm tipping the Dolphins, is I think they're going to turn it around. It may have been a little bit of a red herring of a game. I don't think that we're going to see that form continue, that poor form continue, hopefully. But
against Dragons, though, because I honestly thought that the Dragons looked...
They were very dangerous. Exactly right. They were definitely.
Honestly, it's maybe second best of the round. Maybe.
Yeah. I think that I can't see the Dolphins being as horrible as they were.
I can't see them taking a second game like that, at the very least. I think this game is going to be entertaining as fuck.
Yeah.
I think this game is going to be awesome because they're going to come back firing hard. Yep. But I think that's also probably going to light a bit of fire in the Dragons again.
Yep.
As well.
Yep.
I've got Dragons currently, just because I'm just not sold on some of the things I saw in that first round, and I know it's just first round jitters, but prove me wrong, boys. Get a win. Put me back on the fins up train.
Yeah, we want the fins up for sure.
Fins up.
I think it's going to be it will be a tough game, albeit could be very close, but. Yeah, I mean, taking nothing away from the Dragons. We're hoping that combination does continue, but I think, again, as well, a lot of it was probably how average the Titans were too, or part of it was how average the Titans were too. So if
they're lucky they've got a bye this week, because they're gonna need.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not wrong. They need to get them shoes, because Desi's gonna make them fucking work, bro.
Yeah, they need to reassess, have a long hard look. I think Dolphins are probably going to get it whipped into them, and I think possibly they can come away with the win at home.
Yeah, well, honestly, Wayne's not going to cop that.
No.
There's no way.
No, exactly right. Alrighty then, that's pretty much it for upcoming round 2. I think in terms of new little segments or whatever, we might even try mucking around with a little bit of NRL fantasy for those of you that do partake in fantasy. I know there is Supercoach and NRL fantasy that get around, but just seeing as fantasy is the only one I really dedicate that much time to, I might have a bit of a player of the week. I think player of round 1 anyway, I'm going to have to give to Ben Travojevic just for that score he put out. The last couple of seasons, he's been a fill-in. He's only sort of filled in and gotten a couple games here and there, so he's been notoriously low scoring. But 53 points in that game last week, I think was quite outstanding for him. So if you've started the season with him, nice cheap little pickup. He was sub 300k. You've made a little bit of cash already, and if you had him in your starting position, you've got a nice takeaway of points there. Because as we know, centers are pretty hard to get some decent scoring players there. Player of the round for round 2, we're going to have to see Teamless Tuesday, but just in terms of for tips, I'm thinking possibly Lukey is going to have another big game. Harlem Lukey, that's he's already on most people's radars, I think, for that edge position. It's just he sort of, your edges are hard for this year if you're either going really expensive, buying someone that's at that top price, or you sort of don't have anyone in the lower range to fill in. Piakura being out as well is going to make it tough, so I think we'll go with Lukey for this round.
Who's Lukey's opposite in that game? So Knights, it'll be...
We'll check. Does appear that team lists have been dropped, which is good. So Lukey is in the 11. He'll be up against Kai Pearce-Paul, who is their new player from England, who's come over. So maybe a little bit of inexperience could.
To be honest, I think that's a really good shout. Then.
Yeah, exactly. Could be up for a few post contact meters, a few tackle breaks and whatnot.
Running him all game.
Yep, exactly. Now, did you have anything before we sign off?
Yeah, look, I did. I did. What I did want to bring to the table for the whole segments thing is a play of the week. I'm not sure if I want to go with play of the week or if I want to go try of the week or if I want to go something like, I want to go something in that vein anyway. Something in that vein. This week at least, I do want to go for a bit of both really. So play and try of the week.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to come back to that Zach Laybutt try.
Oh, yeah.
I've got to come back to that. I mean,
yep.
Seriously, this try is so epic. This try is just so epic. It is a lot of individual brilliance, but a lot of also only happens because Chad actually follows through with this play.
Yep.
Zach's running the line. He looks good. He's got good speed, and he has someone with him. Looks great straight away.
Textbook
straight away.
Yep.
Gets on Tessie News outside. So he absolutely turns him inside out. That's one man out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Still got a couple of guys to go. Chad pushes in, causes both JMK and Hammer to make the defensive decision to go onto him. And the only reason they make that play to go to Chad is because he throws out this cute little dummy that just the little psych.
The fake flick.
Absolute fake flick.
The goated fake flick.
It looks so, I think maybe because he's so tall and lanky a little bit.
Yeah.
It makes it look real as hell when he does it.
He did. It looked like he had a bit of force behind it.
Yeah, it looked like there was definitely some force and intent. And it just got everyone, and he just ran straight home. And it was honestly, I don't want to make every week like a Cowboys one because it was clearly hot. It was hot.
Yeah, I don't think you'd be the only one that has that as play of the round.
That was a sensational play, and for my take this week, play of the round.
Wonderful, good stuff. Well, with that, we might wrap it up for this week. Team lists have just dropped, but we won't spend too much time going through those. We'll probably revisit, I imagine, maybe after round 3. We'll do a little bit of a thing like this, just with the way the schedule is when we can record and whatnot. So we'll see you after round 2 and round 3.